Every man who's been through a divorce has a story that could shock you. The ex who cheated but still demands alimony. The one who walked out for someone else yet insists on half the house. Or the one who filed for divorce but plays the victim in court. These aren't rare occurrences, they follow patterns. And if you don't understand the psychology behind them, you could easily become the next target. Let's break down how some exes manipulate the system, and more importantly, how you can protect yourself both mentally and legally. The entitlement mindset in divorce is astounding. Some people genuinely believe that being in a relationship automatically gives them a claim to everything, regardless of what they actually contributed. I had a client whose ex-wife hadn't worked a single day in their 10-year marriage, not because she couldn't, but because she didn't want to. Meanwhile, he built a business from scratch, putting in 80-hour weeks. When they divorced, she demanded half the business. Her reasoning, simply that he existed nearby while she did. The logic is twisted but consistent. I gave you my time, so I own your achievements. They can't differentiate between merely being present and actually contributing. Sitting on the couch while someone builds an empire in their mind makes them co-creators. And when they don't get what they feel entitled to, they see themselves as the wronged party. Then there's the emotional fallout after someone leaves a relationship. The person who initiates the breakup often imagines leaving as a ticket to instant freedom and happiness. When reality hits loneliness, financial strain, dating struggles, they experience intense cognitive dissonance. Instead of acknowledging their choices, they project the blame onto the person they left. I worked with a man whose ex-wife left him for a coworker. 6 months later, the new relationship ended, and she immediately called him, claiming he had ruined her life by making her leave him. She literally blamed him for her decision to walk away. The mental gymnastics involved were extraordinary. Many departures are driven by what I call the grass is greener mentality, often combined with financial calculation. Some people leave expecting a payout. Divorce settlement plus a new partner equals a perceived upgrade. When it doesn't pan out, the reaction isn't sadness, it's anger. One client's ex-wife had been planning her divorce for 2 years, not out of unhappiness, but because she had calculated she could live off the settlement while finding herself. She even had spreadsheets. When she received far less than expected, she accused my client of hiding assets, when in reality, she had just overestimated what she was entitled to. Understanding backup partner dynamics is crucial. Certain individuals don't let go of one branch until they have a firm grip on the next. They may start emotional or even physical affairs while still married, not for love, but for security. And when that plan falls through, they often come running back. I've seen it countless times. The spouse creates tension, distances themselves, picks fights, building justification to leave, all while preparing the next move. Then they exit dramatically, making you the villain. Months later, if the new partner fails, suddenly reconciliation seems appealing. The dating reality after divorce hits some people like a freight train. They expect to be highly desirable, but find themselves competing with younger, more appealing options. A woman I knew left her husband at 42, 3 kids, moderate looks, expecting men to flock to her. Reality: the men interested were either players or desperate, not upgrades. 2 years of failed dates later, she tried to reconcile, but by then, he had already moved on. Jealousy after an ex sees you thrive is a psychological goldmine. They expect you to collapse without them. When you lose weight, earn more, or enter happier relationships, it triggers narcissistic injury. How dare you succeed without me? This often shows up as sudden texts, questions through mutual friends, or social media posts hinting at missing what we had. They're not longing for you. They're trying to reclaim the status of being the leaver rather than the left behind. Finally, responsibility avoidance and blame shifting are common. People who betray marriages through cheating, neglect, or abuse often cast themselves as the victim. You'll hear lines like, "You made me cheat by ignoring me," or "I had to leave because you worked too much," conveniently forgetting that their partner was working to support the lifestyle they demanded. I handled a case where a wife cheated with 3 men, got caught each time, and still placed the blame on her husband. When you press for specifics, the complaints often seem absurd. One ex claimed her husband wasn't spontaneous enough or didn't make her feel special. Meanwhile, this man was juggling 2 jobs, covering her shopping sprees, yet somehow he was the problem. Financial dependence becomes glaringly obvious after separation, not heartbreak, but panic. When someone suddenly faces rent, bills, groceries, insurance, they don't mourn lost love, they fear losing their lifestyle. And because admitting that would be shameful, they cloak it in emotional pain. Notice how quickly exes get nostalgic once reality hits. Rent day rolls around, and suddenly they remember the good times. Credit card maxed. They're missing what we had. Car payment due. Reconciliation seems appealing. It's not love. They're just struggling with economics disguised as emotion. The manipulation around child support and custody can reach alarming levels. I've seen women try to extract child support from men who aren't even the biological fathers, using guilt and emotional pressure. You're the only father they know, or a real man would step up. One extreme case involved a woman hiding her pregnancy from an affair, letting her husband believe the child was his for 3 years, then divorcing him. Even after the truth surfaced, she demanded child support, convinced she was entitled because he'd assumed the father role. Thankfully, the judge disagreed, but the audacity was stunning. Relationships built on infidelity rarely survive. Someone who cheats once will likely cheat again. Someone who leaves their spouse for you has already shown their willingness to betray. And yet, affair partners often act shocked when the same patterns repeat. I witnessed a woman leave her husband for his best friend, only to find the friend cheating within a year. She called her ex, crying, "I don't understand how he could do this to me." The lack of self-awareness was astounding. You chose a man who betrayed his best friend and are now surprised he betrayed you. The psychological toll on men is immense. Society expects them to shrug off infidelity, financial exploitation, and false accusations. But the trauma runs deep. Humiliation, gaslighting, grief, loss of family, and shattered trust create lasting wounds. Men in my practice speak of emasculation, worthlessness, even identity crises. One man said, "I don't know who I am anymore. Everything I believed about my life was a lie." Another couldn't sleep for months, replaying every moment, analyzing every sign he might have missed. The fallout extends beyond the couple. Children are traumatized, extended families divided, friendships destroyed. Cheating can trigger lawsuits, alienation claims, emotional distress suits, even assault charges if the betrayed spouse confronts the affair partner. I handled a case where a man sued his wife's affair partner for intentional infliction of emotional distress and won 6 figures. The affair partner had deliberately pursued a married woman, befriended her husband to get closer, and destroyed the marriage. The financial penalty was severe, but the emotional damage irreversible. Regret always comes later. In the heat of betrayal or divorce rage, people make impulsive choices, blowing up families for fleeting excitement. Months or years later, when the fog lifts, they realize what they lost. By then, the kids are scarred, the family fractured, and the ex has moved on. I've taken calls from exes years later, asking if reconciliation is possible. They describe unstable relationships, financial struggles, estranged children, longing for the stability they destroyed. When I tell them their ex is remarried and thriving, the silence is deafening. That is the sound of permanent consequences. Divorce fantasy versus reality is stark. People expect freedom, hot new partners, endless possibilities. Reality delivers loneliness, rejection, bills, and a barren dating scene in middle age. One woman expected her best life after divorce, like TV shows promised. Instead, she got a cheap apartment, a dating pool of damaged individuals, and resentful children. She said, "This isn't what I signed up for." No, it's what she created. The projection and victim narrative is a masterpiece of self-preservation. People who break marriages through cheating, abuse, or neglect reconstruct the past to portray themselves as victims. They forget affairs, recall only lack of affection. They ignore emotional abuse, fixate on minor reactions. This revisionist history avoids guilt. If they're victims, they aren't responsible. I've encountered exes spinning entirely fabricated tales of abuse or neglect to justify choices that were theirs. So, how do you defend yourself psychologically? First, document everything. Every text, every email, every conversation. Proof is not paranoia, it's protection. Some exes will deny conversations that happened yesterday. Receipts save you from gaslighting. Second, the gray rock method. Be boring, emotionless, minimal. Answer only what is necessary. Manipulators thrive on reaction. Remove the fuel, they move on. When dealing with a high conflict ex, emotional exchanges must disappear. No personal talk, no reminiscing, No arguments. Keep everything strictly logistical. Pickup is at 3 p.m., not pickup is at 3 p.m. And by the way, I'm seeing someone new. Keep it clean, simple, and professional.